Hi, today I'll be making a sourdough ice cream. It kind of sounds odd, but the way this came about is I have been making sourdough bread, and every day when you feed the sourdough, you have to dump a little bit off. Some people call it the hooch, and some people call it the discard. It's the stuff that comes on top of the sourdough starter, and I hate throwing it away. And you can use it for pancakes or waffles and things like that. But I don't generally make pancakes and waffles that often, but I do make ice cream all the time. So I thought maybe I could try to put it in my ice cream, and maybe the sourness of the sourdough will kind of make it taste good. I did look it up online, and somebody, I'm sure several people have tried it. I saw a recipe online, I forget what the website was, but somebody made regular ice cream, not with the creamy. So this is the first time that I'm trying it, and we'll see how it goes. So this is the sourdough starter that I took off. And what I did, I thought I'd make kind of a sourdough lavender to make it sound kind of like French country, like Provençal, something like that. So I put the lavender inside the sourdough starter and like soaked it just like a tea. And then I have fresh lavender that I got from the garden. I've got only a little bit left, so hopefully if this is really good, I'll have to buy lavender somewhere, or maybe find a neighbor that has some, because we're almost out. If you don't have fresh lavender, you can use something like this lavender, I don't know what, it's like a spray that you put on, and it's okay. It's pretty good. It's not as good as the real thing, but if you don't have it, that's the way it goes. And also, so that's my 3 ingredients. Actually, I'm using 2, the lavender and the starter. And then I have some sourdough bread that I'm going to soak in milk to get the flavor, to kind of soak up the flavor. I always use salt in my ice cream. You can use regular sugar or Splenda. I'll pull that out. And milk, I'm using whole milk. And I decided for this one to use cottage cheese. You could also use cream, but I'm going to try it with cottage cheese. Cottage cheese makes it a little bit more earthy, in my opinion. There's a little bit of saltiness in there, and it's still creamy. It creams up just fine. So I'm going to use that. Okay, I'm going to start by taking milk, whole milk. I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to pour some into a saucepan. Maybe a little bit more. I'm going to add my lavender. You can either add the whole bunch, or you can break off the tops, or you can put in part of the greens. I think that's what I'm going to do. Just put in some of the greens. I'm going to add a little bit of sage as well. That's an option. I just kind of wanted to have a few herbs to be infused in this. And I'm going to add some honey. I'm going to heat this up. And once it gets, not to boiling, but just once it gets warm, fairly hot, I'm going to add all of my sourdough crisps that I made. And all I did for these is I just left them out overnight. I sliced them fairly thin, not too many. I'd say it's probably just about half a cup, but I didn't measure. I just sliced a bunch of slices, and then I left them out overnight, and then I put them into the toaster to get them nice and crispy. So after this gets heated up, I'm just going to set those in there and let them soak for about 20 minutes. Okay, I've let this cook for a little bit. I heated this up, and then I added my bread, and I let it sit for about 20 minutes. And as you can see, it's gotten kind of mushed up. Not all of it, but some of it. And it soaked up a lot of the milk. So when I put it through the sieve, I'm going to have to kind of squeeze it a little bit to get some of that milk out. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pour in my sourdough starter. I didn't pour it in earlier because I didn't want it to cook since it has flour in it. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. I could have added the salt at any time. A little vanilla. Give it a stir. Now I'm ready to put this through the sieve because I don't want all the pieces of bread and lavender to be in my ice cream. I just want the flavor of it to come through. So I just put this little sieve on top of this. You could also do it into a separate bowl if that's easier for you. So I'm just going to pour this in. And a little might spill, and that's okay. Smells good. Now what I'm going to do is kind of push this down so it gets all of the good tasting milk out of the bread. Because as you know, bread can really soak up the milk. I don't want to be throwing it all away, so I'm going to use it. Now I could have added my sugar. I'm going to use Splenda for this one. I could have added it at any point, but I thought it'd be easier to add it once everything was separated out. So I think that's pretty good. So before I forget, I'm going to add my sugar. Stir it up, and then I'm going to add I think for this one I'm going to add my cottage cheese. Once I add the cottage cheese, I'll mix it up, taste it, and then I'll be able to freeze it. Okay, I'm going to add my cottage cheese. I haven't decided on this one if I'm going to add cream or not. What I'm going to do is mix it up and taste it and then decide. Of course, if I do add cream, I'm going to have to take some out. I accidentally added a little too much cottage cheese. That's okay. I'll just put a little bit in this container here and I'll use it for something else. So for the cottage cheese, I used small curd, full fat cottage cheese. It seems to blend up better. Give it a good mix. Oops. And now it's time to taste it. It's good, but it needs a little bit more sugar. And I think a little bit of the heavy whipping cream would be good. So what I'm going to do is pour some of this out since I put a little too much cottage cheese in there. And I'll add a little sugar. And this is a new spoon. A little bit of heavy cream. And that brings it right up to the max fill spot. That's my ideal goal when I'm doing this, is to get it to that spot. Usually I can estimate it. This time I went a little crazy with the cottage cheese, but like I said, it's no big deal because you can use it for something else. I'll just put that in a Tupperware. Okay, now I'm going to taste it again. That tastes really good to me. So now it's time to freeze it. Okay, I froze the sourdough base overnight, and now it's time to spin it. So here's how it looks. It's pretty flat. Sometimes if it doesn't go on right away, you might have to like click it down. It looks like it's on, but it's not quite on, so sometimes that's frustrating. Okay, now I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to do full. And this sourdough is kind of a full fat, well actually I'm going to do light ice cream because I did cottage cheese in there, and that's more of a light ice cream. So I'll turn it to light and press start. Okay, I spun this once on the light setting, and now I'm going to check it. Looks like this. It's not ready yet. If it ever has like balls or flakes like this, like it almost looks like crunchy snow, that's fine. It just means that it needs to be mixed again. So what I do is I kind of go along the sides with my spoon, and I feel it, and if it's really, really dry, I might add a little cream, but this actually feels pretty good, so I'm just going to respin it. So I'll show you that. I'm just going to put it back on here. And sometimes what I do actually is I take a quick taste because I'm dying to see what this tastes like. So even though it's not ready yet, I'll just taste it. Good. Interesting. So I'll put this on. Now I'm more excited because it kind of tastes good. Click on full and then respin. So here's the finished product. I think it turned out really nice. I put a little fresh lavender on top if you have it. It's nice to do that for decoration. A couple ideas for toppings. You could put some caramel sauce on top, or you could put just a little bit. If people like sweeter things, they could put a little bit of like simple syrup on top, just like a glaze. And another idea that I'm going to make for you is taking breadcrumbs. These are just sourdough breadcrumbs. I'm going to make a crumbly sourdough bread topping. It's real simple. It's just sugar and butter and putting it in a pan. So I'll show you that. Okay, I'm going to make the topping. It's just sourdough breadcrumbs. So I'm going to pour them into a pan. A little bit of sugar. This is monk fruit sweetener. You could use regular sugar, but when I can, I try to use the artificial sweetener because it's a lot lower calorie. I'm going to put a little bit of butter in this pan and cook it up till it's golden, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, I finished cooking my breadcrumbs, and unfortunately, I burned them. But it's okay because I think I figured out why. The monk fruit did not work just like regular sugar. It was supposed to, but it didn't. So I'm going to do it a second time with regular sugar, and I think I'll have better luck. Okay, I think I've got it figured out. So instead of putting butter with my breadcrumbs, I just took breadcrumbs and I put a little bit of brown sugar. I did not use the fake sugar this time, and it turned out delicious. So now I'm going to pour some on my ice cream, and it's going to give it kind of like a sweet bready taste. So here's the final product, and I'll taste it. It's very good.